Do you want to learn how to make a map like this? Of course you do. For the small price of only 10 minutes of your time, you're going to learn today. So this is going to be the first episode of our world building series.
And so as you can see here, we're working on one of our maps. By the end of it, we'll have a decent chunk of this world mapped out.
Yeah, and it's essentially just 5 continents, that we just threw together into one world.
And so we're using Inkarnate with this series.
Inkarnate? I thought it was Inkarnate.
I have no clue.
Okay.
It's spelled Inkarnate. That's all you need to know. It's a super useful website. It lets you build maps really easily, and as you can see, we're already a good chunk of the way through with this map.
This is sped up at about 1,500 speed, though. Yeah. 1,500 times faster.
But either way, it only took us about 40 minutes to make this one.
Yeah, so essentially you're just going to want to start off. You'll be able to figure it out mostly just by watching us. You don't even have to listen. But just start off with the blob and come back with the subtract tool around the edge of the blob to really shape it out so that you can get the
nice coastlines.
Yeah, and it's not smooth.
Mm-hmm. And then as you can see right now, he's going through and shading all the coastlines a different color, just to add a little bit more of a contrast whenever you're looking at the whole map as a whole.
Yeah, it makes it more detailed. And around the swampier area down there, I did less of the beach just because that contrast is way too much.
So this version of Inkarnate is the premium version. The free version does not have all of these tools, but it is still super useful. Also, the premium the premium version is only $25 a year, so it's super affordable. And I mean, look at everything that you're making with the premium version.
Yeah, and essentially, once you have all your landscape made out and everything, just go through the assets that they have and just start placing stuff. That's going to be your best bet as far as making a map without a clear goal in mind, is just start placing stuff and do what looks good. One tip here that I learned from a YouTube channel, I wish I had the name of, is put gray around the assets, like the shadows of the assets and just around them to make it look like it's been walked around. So it's not just like grass around it. And also on the mountains, put that brown or gray all around the mountains so it's not grass leading right up to the mountains. Anything else on this map?
No. This map is just about finished up. We're just adding a few trees to really give this a nature feel. Also, whenever you are building your map, definitely think about your placage of mountains. Because when we use mountains, we put one ecosystem on one side and a completely different one on the other side most of the time.
Yeah, typically, just because, I don't know, there's some sort of science reason behind that.
Some high pressure and low pressure system with mountains, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, whenever you're placing stuff, literally just place stuff wherever until it looks good. Delete it, place it again. That's going to be your best bet as far as making a map that actually looks good.
Mm-hmm. And also take into account here that our biggest mountains are the ones with the snow caps. The smaller ones don't necessarily have that. Just to add that this is the tallest part of this mountain range.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the middle, like I showed on pretty much every single one of these. But keep in mind, this is also my first time making these maps ever. You're seeing the first time. But like he was saying about the different ecosystems, you're about to see that on this map here. I did a jungle on the top side there and desert on the bottom. And it looks cool. And it adds a cool story element too.
Yeah, and so you can see the way the placement system works for the mountains and the trees is literally just clicking and dragging. And it'll start placing all these mountains. You don't have to go individually place individual mountains. So it's a super useful tool and easy to pick up really fast and use really quickly.
Yeah, the also whenever you're placing the buildings and everything, think about what materials that they would have for that biome. So back in the desert one, they were using probably sandstone or something to build their cities and stuff. And then in the jungle biome, they were using wood it was like mostly wood buildings because that's what materials they're going to have.
Mm-hmm. And as you can see here, when he's going through and making those coastlines, you can see he's not deleting all the things that he cuts off because there's like small little islands that hang off right off the coastline.
Yeah, they literally are just breaking off of the edge of the continent. That's how islands and stuff are made in real life. I mean, other than volcanoes, but...
this one specifically is our tundra map with a glacier completely breaking apart, separating from the continent.
Yeah, I really didn't have anything in mind before that. I just thought it looked cool, so I added it. There wasn't much thought behind that. But again, here, they're blue buildings. Probably a darker stone in this area because of the tundra.
Mm-hmm. And the color scheme really works well. You can also see the blue underneath it versus using the gray that we used in the other one.
Yeah.
The blue shading.
And the rivers I used for the rivers on the other one, I used the delete tool so that it had that nice outline. On this one, I didn't do that because I wanted it to look like the rivers had frozen over instead of it was still, water moving through.
Now, this one is our volcano map. And so, once that volcano gets put down, you can see that we used a darker stone look. Trying to really show that this one came from this volcano. This island essentially sprouted around this volcano.
Yeah, and one thing that I wish Inkarnate changed was the volcano doesn't really fit in with the mountains.
Yeah.
The texture just isn't the same, and there's no fixing it. It's just the assets aren't there. You can add assets, I think, only with the premium package.
Yes.
But it still works. You get the point. But yeah. This one is actually not all destroyed looking like this because of the volcano, but because this is actually going to tie into the religion of this world, and this is a battle scar on the world, actually. Okay. But again, the building choice that I put down, because it's just what it looks like it would fit. If you make the buildings look out of place, it just won't look good.
And so this one is like floating away islands, just that completely broke away from the continent. We didn't really put we didn't put any buildings on this area, just because the islands are kind of small.
It just doesn't really work with Inkarnate.
Yeah.
I guess if you zoomed in on each island, it would make sense to put buildings and stuff. But considering I was building this essentially for a world map in the end, it didn't make sense to put any buildings on it.
And there is one thing that I really wish Inkarnate would change, is that they do not have an undo tool.
Yeah, that is annoying.
Which is unfortunate. But it is also really easy to go back in and redo something.
And that is the world map altogether. I wish I had shown you guys how to do the world map in general at the end, but I kind of stumbled my way through making it in general, so I can't really explain to you how I did it.
But I mean, as you can see, this is his first time using this program at all, and you can see the work that came out of it. And I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's a great world map. And it's a great starter map.
And actually, once you're done with all the individual maps, you can export them out of Inkarnate and into their own individual pictures, and then piece them together using a Photoshop tool. That was my problem. I didn't know how to use Photoshop that well. So, but I'm dumb. Photoshop, I've heard, is pretty easy, so you guys can probably do it.
Well, that's all we have for you today. We'll
Yeah.
be back in a little bit with more information about that religion we were talking about.